We're live.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us for our coming back from COVID Teams end-to-end strategy webinar. Quick welcome. So the agenda for today is a very brief welcome and an introduction to the platform that we're using today, which is the Kinley Event Cloud. Then I'll be taking you through how Kinley can help you to implement your team's strategy post-COVID and during COVID. Then I'll be handing off to one of my friends and colleagues, Andrew Gross at Crestron. He's one of the top technical directors there, and he will be taking us through some of the Crestron roadmap and what Crestron are doing to improve the MTR strategy overall. And then we will be passing on from Andrew to Jordan Owens from Pexip, who will be telling us what the bridges are from your old environment into Teams, how we can all adopt. Following that, we'll be having a question and answer section. We all aim to spend around 20 minutes or so on each on our sections. And then the question and answer, you'll find in the stream, if you scroll to the bottom, you've got a convenient bar. Pop your question in there, obviously what the question is, what your name is, and then ideally who you want it proposed to. And then I've got Tiago from Kinley in the room with me. He will moderate those questions and we'll revisit the questions at the end. So remember to put your questions into the chat. Where are we today? So we're on the Kinley Event Cloud. Thanks for joining us. I hope you all found it a relatively easy experience to get on board. It's our own event platform, and it's a fully customizable event cloud. You know, we saw a space for this. There's definitely been some issues in the market with good event clouds. Some key benefits and some key identifiers is that you can join with any device from anywhere. It's a streaming service enabled, so the majority of people on the call today will be on the streaming service, but you have your streaming area and then you have your hosts area. So our speakers, for example, today are in the host area, but everyone else gets the streaming service. And one of the main things that a lot of our clients like about it when we talk to them is that you are the administrator of your own event. So at a glance, what is a Kinley event service? Planning, you can plan your own events, you can do an event launch with invites, etc., etc. Live event management, so Tiago, who's actually managing this event for me, he can take care of various speaker positions, etc., etc., have control of microphones, muting. So you get full control, it's very feature rich. There's also polls available, question and answers, which you guys are going to be using today. And finally, the event capture, which is really important for a lot of people, because it's a good way of remarketing a webinar or an event. You can send out the link, get more signups, more for your database, more client interaction. Why did we build the Kinley event service? Well, basically people really enjoy using our VMRs, which again are powered by Pexip. But beyond 20 people, you start to lose an element of control. You can't select which view you'd like, etc., etc. So we also identified that a lot of the solutions are quite cumbersome on the market, and especially things like large town hall meetings, which are mission critical to our Fortune 1000 clients. You know, it kills the internet access, and it's a real struggle. So different webinars have got different requirements. That's what we appreciated and understood. So we needed to be able to configure per event. One of the benefits of the Kinley Cloud is the streaming nodes. So we have several nodes around the world which allow top-notch, really high-quality traffic to flow through. There shouldn't be any drop-off. There shouldn't be any latency on there. Really nice investment protection. You can stream from any device over the global network, which is very secure and very speedy, to any device. You can access from a phone. You can access from a desktop, access from a codec. All of the issues are absolutely covered. OK, so enough about that. A couple of minutes on locations and delivery. So Kinley, as you know, many of you know, some of you don't know, is a global entity, global company. So we can truly deliver with excellence across the globe. We've got head offices in Amsterdam. Main offices are in Norway, here in the US and the UK and Singapore. But we've got lots of satellite locations as well, as you can see listed on the slides. So it allows us to roll out your global program with ease. Here in New Jersey, we've just invested late 2019 around $1 million in our New Jersey Customer Experience Center, where we have a lot of new MTRs, Microsoft Teams rooms. We've got 3 active Teams rooms in here now. We've also got our existing Cisco environments as well. So if anyone needs to come by, you can set an appointment. We can gladly show you through everything. We can show you how Crestron, who've got that dedicated room here, are attacking the MTR space and the huddle space. And it's also a fantastic environment to see the interop between Pexip, Crestron, Cisco, MTRs. So, market drivers. Why is Teams exploding at the beginning of 2020? Well, there's economic drivers. Clients have already got their 365 environment, which they've invested heavily in, and Teams are part of this. Why should they be spending extra on more services? And clients are becoming more educated and aware of high renewal and maintenance costs. It's a lot of feedback that we get. On the technology front, you've got companies like Crestron making fantastic solutions. And Crestron are really gunning for the MTR market, and they're coming out with several different versions for several different spaces. Andrew will take you through that. Also, Pexip, for me, probably one of the market leaders in bridging that gap. And that is a problem that we all have, which we'll come to. Social environmental. FOMO is actually a real thing. You know, I speak to a lot of CIOs and CTOs, and they have a fear of missing out on this Teams wagon. They don't want it. Everyone's talking about it. There's a buzz about it. So it's up to us to help educate and move forward. And the huddle space is truly exploding. Microsoft Teams, totally exploding. 44 million active daily users at the moment. 650,000 organizations have got more than 10,000 users in over 181 markets. In early 2020, what was I seeing? Teams were surging in January, February. According to Microsoft's financial year 20 Q1 results, there's 200 million active users of Office 365. And Teams active daily users went from 22 million in September 2019 to 34 million in February 2020. Now, with COVID, that's up to 44 million. Microsoft Teams will soon be as common as Outlook, and that's a Gartner prediction, and they're not often wrong with many things. COVID strikes affected all of us. That's why we're having this webinar today. People were happy in their workflow, companies were pursuing their strategies, and then March came along, everyone was sent home. What have I seen, and what's the feedback that I've had? Well, we're all aware that competitor platforms have taken a bit of a battering in the market with security issues. No doubt they'll fix those and come back stronger, but also VPN issues with other platforms. People needed to be dialing in through VPNs, and it was coming very convoluted. The beauty of Teams for me is that it's an end-to-end process and system. So people were able to pick up their laptops from their workplace, come home, open them up, get into Teams. You've got the cornerstones of communication there, so you've got your instant messaging. Then, should something more detailed need to be talked about, you've got your video chat straight after that. And key to it all is the file sharing, the ability to share files with total and consummate ease. Accelerated usage and adoption is a real benefit to what has happened with COVID. As harrowing as the whole situation has been, users have gone home. They have learned how to use Teams very well. We must capitalize on that, and we've got to deliver them the tools to take them to the next step so that adoption becomes furthermore. So as I can say, in Teams, you've got the persistent one-on-one group chat, instant messaging. That will then spawn powerful online meetings, either an ad hoc meeting like an instant chat or a scheduled meeting. We can embed your enterprise voice calling so all of your phones can go nicely through your Teams environment. And then obviously the file sharing, the built-in Office 365 apps. What am I going to see, or what have I been told the workplace is looking like for a lot of our clients? Far less business travel. People are cutting travel. They don't want to put their employees in any level of danger. So that'll be more video calls, more Teams calls. Social distancing will continue within the office. So I'm thinking, and I'm hearing, and orders are being placed for more huddle rooms of a medium size with 2 to 3 people in them, where there's enough space for people to have their own private space. Work from home will become part of people's lives increasingly, more so than it was. That is going to be accelerated and exacerbated along the way. What am I seeing when I'm speaking to my clients, when I'm speaking to my AMs who are doing a great job and doing a lot of work during this difficult time? Confidence is high. It's a good thing. A lot of client activity going on. You know, major corporations are planning for their return, and inquiries for major global rollouts of huddle rooms are very strong. There is, however, a desire for agile and rapid purchasing. The whole concept of people not knowing where their budgets are is killing everybody at the moment. No one knows where they're going to be in 6 months, 12 months. So people are liking the concept of an OpEx model, where their monthly revenues can be used to build rooms as and when required. Teams migration is gaining much more traction thanks to COVID. And usage and adoption, I'm getting a lot of inquiries from various C-level executives saying we need to get our guys trained even more and more. How can Kinley help? What are some of the services that we can deploy for you that will allow you to have a better team strategy? Well, since I've come on board as Microsoft lead for Kinley in the US, we've actually built a whole new dedicated team sales process. The traditional AV sales process was somewhat cumbersome, very bespoke, lots of moving parts. We've tried to build a whole new process out for you so we can deal with rapid rollouts. Starts with consultancy with me. Look at me as a free service for you guys. You know, we can have the conversations. If that starts to get some traction and we can help you on your journey, then we'll involve some of the sales team and we can actually get that underway. There's a menu-driven approach, small, medium, and large rooms. So this helps our users to select the appropriate room size and design for their topology and landscape out there. Clearly defined scope of works. What do we do? You know, what's on us and what's on you? We can take care of your entire process, but we're aware that a lot of you have got very competent IT departments, so we can partially consult on that front whilst we build out the rooms for you. Kinley's taken on board a lot and invested a hell of a lot in new technical skills to assist with the Microsoft environment. You know, we've got some of the top guys out there in the market, so much so that Microsoft reached out to us. We're building our own apps and software to allow for smart monitoring. I'll move on for that later in the presentation. We can begin to assess your network readiness whilst you're in the sales process as well. So as we're finalizing, if you've got rooms in Istanbul, if you've got rooms in Russia, et cetera, and it's a big ask, it's a big task, we can start the ball rolling, making sure your network is ready for your adoption of Teams. Standardization, absolutely key in my book to getting this right. You can have it your way, your standards throughout your entire organization. How does it work? Kinley have actually, our clever brains, some of the UK team, as well as the rest of the global team, have developed two great products, which I'll talk about today, the room configurator and also the smart monitoring service. But the room configurator allows us to discuss at C-level what your plans are for the rooms, whether you want Crestron hardware, do you need Pexip for interop, is Teams going to be your platform? We can then isolate that, package and you roll it out to the rest of your national or global organization as a set of room standards. You can see from this slide here, it's a click-as-you-go model. So select a huddle room. Do you want video conferencing? What platform do you use? Et cetera, et cetera. And it takes you through a whole host of options. Really feature-rich, really good. But the important part is it locks down the buying decision. So you don't have to worry about purchasing in Europe when the decision's being made centrally in the US, for example. It can be rolled out nicely. TCO and ROI analysis, you know, for whether you're a small company or a multi-billion-dollar global company. Economies of scale. It's expensive to implement new technology. And we have created and developed a specific set of tools which will allow us to monitor your current environment. Now, this isn't a fast process, guys. You know, this is more of a consultancy approach. If you can give us what your environment is, what your spend is, what your maintenance is, what your renewal charges are, then we can pull all of that data together, and it really allows you to have an effective, educated decision on whether we go for a rip and replace strategy or a phase strategy, whether you want to continue running your legacy environment in tandem with your teams, or whether you solely want to migrate to Teams. We can help you get those numbers, get those metrics, because everyone's got to report to somebody. And, you know, no doubt executive boards, CEOs want to know what this is going to cost them. So we've got the tools to let you know what it's going to cost and the most cost-effective way to go about doing it. Room as a service and OpEx. Can't emphasize enough. I think this is critical for us, and this is the feedback I'm getting for clients. No one knows where their budgets are, from global governments all the way to a guy with his deli shop, one guy in a shop. No one knows where their budgets are. This has thrown a curveball at everybody. So What we can do is we can roll all of the products, everything that you're interested in. You want your Crestron rooms, you want some Pexip cloud, you want training and adoption and installation from Kinley. We can roll all of that into one manageable monthly payment. And that's through us, that's natively through us. You know, it's something that Kinley's invested time and effort in, so there's no third parties involved. We can take care of that for you. From one room to a global rollout, it enables you to do that. Two key takeaways to this, which I think are pretty crucial to anyone. After 3 years, we can rip it all out and you can refresh with the latest. Because one thing I can guarantee you, once you've seen Andrew's presentation, the technology in this sector is moving on at a pace. So 3 years, I believe, is now going to be around the shelf life of the technology. You continue paying your monthly payment, and then you get all the latest feature-rich kit. Finally, it removes a heavily depreciating asset. We all know, everyone on this call, technology is a heavily depreciating asset. So get it off the balance sheet. It's no longer on the balance sheet. Your CFO will probably thank you for that. Multi-platform environments, a real regular staple of conversation that I have with a lot of my clients. Don't be worried by it. You're not the only one. You know, there's no utopian vision here of someone starting with a brand new flat environment saying, right, we want brand new business, multi-million-dollar business, we want Teams, we want Pexip, we're going to choose Crestron, we want all of this. It's not happening. People have got legacy video environments, high-quality legacy video environments, but they want to move on to the Teams platform. So through partnering with Pexip, we're able to take your Cisco environment or your Poly environment. Do you want to run them in tandem? That's fine. You know, we're looking, I know we're looking at the moment with one of our largest clients at running Cisco WebEx alongside Teams. You know, there's so many options that we can do. It's not a problem. We can get your Cisco environments having Teams meeting or your Poly environments having Teams meetings. We can enable you to have many environments communicating over one platform. Holistic support, again, something we've worked very, very hard and diligently on. I think you'll all agree that support in the AV space traditionally has been very bespoke, long lists of equipment, varying coverages. So much like the small, medium, and large room methodology that we've had for actually selling the rooms themselves, we're looking at a similar way with SLAs. Looking at Kinley Essential, Kinley Preferred, and Kinley Complete. It allows you to make an easy, educated, informed decision of what level of SLA you want. So that takes care of something breaks. We've got our phenomenal class-leading VNOC here. We've got them globally throughout the world. You get a number to call, an email, and then straight out, the issue is repaired. The next level to this, monitoring. I told you before, the guys have made Kinley Room Configurator. They've also made the Smart Monitoring app phenomenal. It allows you to have an instant, single window flash screenshot of your entire global environment. You can see which rooms are online, which rooms are down, what issues are being thrown up from the rooms. We know about serial numbers, camera statuses, microphone statuses, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of information is flying around. Here's a screenshot of what it looks like. So you can see, you know, you've got green lights, everything's fine. Red lights, it's giving you a description. The benefit is that our guys in our VNOCs can also see this too. So as soon as alert occurs, it goes straight into our ServiceNow platform, and the guys can be fixing something, probably when your people aren't even in the office, coming in the morning, and all you'll receive is an email saying, this issue was caused, we remedied it by this way, fixed. Preemptive maintenance and monitoring, absolutely exceptional. The final part of this is management. I know the team are working very, very hard to get this on the roadmap. I think it's looking at Q3 to Q4 2020. However, with management, we're going to need to work with you. We need help. You guys aren't just going to grant us free reign or access into your environments. So we need VPN access, or there's other methods as well. But what the management can do really takes it to the next level. We can look after your Teams rooms. We can do white glove concierge service. You want us to set up a call, press the button while all your C-suite executives are in the room. We can do that. We can manage your calls, manage your rooms, latest updates, latest firmware, backwards updates if some of those haven't worked. So that's very much the direction that we're going. And for late 2020, early 2021, that's what Kinley's doing. Finally, from my piece, training and adoption. Couldn't be more important in my book. Cisco, Microsoft, Poly, whichever platform you look at, however you're looking to use your systems internally. If you don't train your users properly, then simply you're setting yourself up for failure. This has been a very cruel turn of events with COVID-19. However, users have gone home and they have self-taught, a lot of them on the Teams platform. So let's arm them with the appropriate tools. Kinley can do a whole range of training for you. We can do things which are team specific. How do you build out a team? How do you do SharePoint with mailing lists? How do people stay in collaboration and contact with each other? All the way through to the real simple mechanics of how do you make a call? How do you add people into the call? You know, we're doing stuff with our clients at the moment whereby we're customizing the team splash screen, so there's on-screen instructions as they walk into the room, custom branded stuff. So the possibilities are endless. But one thing I can absolutely guarantee you is that adoption will be accelerated with greater knowledge. Your strategy will be more seamless if everyone has a greater knowledge. So that about covers everything I was wanting to talk about. I'm just going to give you a quick reminder. Any questions, pop them into the chat. Tiago's there to moderate. I'm now going to hand off to Andrew Gross from Crestron. And Crestron and Kinley are working very closely together at a global level, and I am suitably impressed with their phenomenal product range. It's really helping us to make a proactive step into the team space. Support is unparalleled. So it's a great relationship. And yeah, I'm going to pass on to Andrew, and he can take it from there. Thanks, Andrew.
Great. Thank you, Ollie. So for those on the call, thank you all for joining. Ollie will be driving through the slides while I'm talking to you. As a quick introduction again, so I'm Andrew Gross. What I do at Crestron here is I run our global UC business, both from a sales and technical standpoint. And so the focus here today that I'd like to talk to you about is since Kinley identified and Ollie was able to convince you guys that clearly Teams is going to be the platform for the enterprise, is what I want to talk to you about is how to take that Teams platform and deploy it into the rooms. What does it look like from a room system standpoint? So I'll go through and talk about who Crestron is, what our partnership looks like, then introduce to you our room line. And then the last step really is to talk about what next. You've identified Teams. You want to go forth with Kinley as your provider, which is one of our top providers globally. Now you want to understand how to get your hands on the hardware. And so we're going to talk about how to do that near the end. But the first thing that I want to get through is quickly, who is Crestron? And hopefully most folks on the call know who Crestron is today. But I think it's worth a quick reminder. So Crestron actually is the largest audiovisual and automation manufacturer in the world. One of the big things to think here, and the way that I summarize Crestron to a lot of folks who maybe are new to the company, especially in this new IT UC space, is we're the room guys. We've been experts in the conference and the meeting space for over half a century. We absolutely have completely identified and refined our approach to providing the best rooms possible. And what we've done for the past 12 months is refine that approach with a native Microsoft Teams platform. Now, to support that native Microsoft Teams platform, we've built a team. And what I have up here on this slide is our team across the United States. These are teams of experts from around the country, from around different backgrounds in the UC space, to really be there as dedicated UC professionals directly at the manufacturer. Kinley is always your first step. That is always your first step for anything support-wise. We also want to be able to give you guys a direct line and contact at the manufacturer, in addition to what Kinley can provide you with support. And of course, this goes global. Our support and our sales structure and our technical folks, they are around the world. So anyone on the call that's joining from around the world, in addition to that United States map, we have this globally as well to support you. What we're going to do now is jump directly into what Crestron Flex is. And the way we like to identify Crestron Flex is that is our MTR, if you like the Microsoft term, or the Microsoft Teams room system. In general, what Crestron Flex does is it provides everything that Crestron does very well: premier audio, premier video, integration, management, and control, and brings it to the Teams room space. That is the real focus and differentiating factor here between why Crestron versus the other Microsoft Teams certified spaces and devices, is that we take what Crestron does so well and what our expertise is in and brought it to the Microsoft Teams room space. So here is our lineup of Crestron Flex products. The way that we've identified Crestron Flex to fit into the enterprise is actually identify specific products per the size of space. So you can see we actually dedicate personal workspaces all the way up to custom spaces and even outside the room with scheduling. And we've identified which product works best in those spaces. What this does is maintain a consistent user experience. so that you're joining teams, your employees are joining teams natively through that one-touch join. But the audio and video requirements change based upon the size of the space that system is deployed in. And then the last one with outside the room scheduling, this is going to be taken on a much greater focus post-COVID-19, or even, of course, during COVID-19, but as we return to the office. We want to remove touch, right? And scheduling panels give us the ability to do that. So I'm going to walk through each individual space, and the first one that we're going to talk about is the small meeting room. So what you see up here is actually a real picture of an install that we have here or have at a client space. This is a small huddle room that was dedicated for dual purpose. And what I mean by dual purpose is that this was a Xbox room for casual hanging out and collaboration, but also doubling as a Microsoft Teams room space. This was done in a client space called Century One. They're down in North Carolina. And the way they were able to integrate both Xbox and Microsoft Teams was because of that Crestron integration. On the touch panel itself, they had a button that allowed for control to flip between the Teams interface and the Xbox interface. So it was the seamless integration, still leveraging the audio and video capabilities in this space, but incorporating a small room focused MTR from Crestron for that dual purpose. And these two images showcase that for you. So what we focus on in the small space are the B series. Now the B series, if you're curious what the B series stands for bar, sound bar. The reason we focus the sound bar in the small space is because of the audio capabilities. What we really like to focus on in these video conferencing rooms is based upon the audio capabilities over video. Now, I know we've talked about video conferencing as being the most important aspect here, but audio is king. And when you have an audio space or a space that is required for enhanced audio, the last place you want to put the sound bar or the microphone or the speakers is at the front of the room. So that's why we focus sound bars in your smaller spaces. It's at the distance furthest away from the participants in the meeting room. Still a great solution because it incorporates all-in-one camera, all-in-one microphone, all-in-one speakers. And so what you see here on this slide are the available options for both single display and dual display systems for Microsoft Teams rooms within the B series line. Now, the next system we're going to move up to from small is going to be our medium rooms. Now, of course, as we go up in size of space, the requirements for audio change. And so instead of putting the audio at the front of the room, which is the furthest distance away from those participants, we highly recommend putting the audio pickup and audio reproduction at the center of the space. And that introduces us to the M series. Now, what you see on here on these two pictures is an actual example, again, of an install of an M series in a larger space, as well as a wiring diagram on the right-hand side. And you'll notice we're putting the mic pickup at the location closest to the participants. Now, what I haven't spoken about, and since we're introducing these new products, is really how we see the conference room changing. And Ali alluded to a lot of these in his first portion. But one of the things that we're hearing from the Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies is the actual addition of larger spaces, but less occupancy. And it's an important departure from what we've had previously, where we've been thinking about smaller huddle spaces, more contained, fitting more people in smaller real estate to maximize your return on your footprint. But COVID-19 has changed that process, that thought process. And what has really come of that is the need for these larger meeting spaces. Less people in the room, but larger spaces to incorporate the same amount of people that were going to be collaborating previously. And this M series device that you see here on the screen really does give you the capability and the flexibility to be able to do that, because of the fact that the audio prowess in this device gives you a full 20-foot radius of mic pickup and speaker reproduction. Perfect for medium and large spaces. Now, the next slide that we have is jumping into these larger meeting rooms. What you see in the larger meeting rooms, of course, is now the introduction of more people, more spaces, but also the introduction of scheduling panels. And scheduling panels should not be forgotten when introducing these different flex units. Post-COVID, we've been talking about the change of the workspace is to reduce touch. Well, one of the ways to reduce touch is to incorporate this level of scheduling panel. What this allows me to do now is not to interrupt meetings, but also not to have to go in and touch doors or touch meeting spaces unnecessarily to see whether that space is occupied or vacant. And so scheduling panels will become more ubiquitous throughout the meeting space. And incorporating them with large meeting rooms, which is this next system, is highly recommended because of the fact that you have more people confined in that space. Now, what you notice here is we're actually going to introduce two different products. It may look the exact same in large meeting spaces, but the main difference here in large meeting spaces is we want to incorporate the ability for BYOD. What BYOD stands for is bring your own device. The ability for you to walk into a room and actually carry your laptop, right? And this is an important case now as well, post-COVID, is the departure from more native on the system so that it's a communal meeting room and moving more towards personal devices. We need to be able to fully control and fully allow for integration of personal devices because it's personal touch versus communal touch. And this is a system that allows us to do that. This is called the Mercury X system. What Mercury X and the difference between Mercury X and the M series from previous is this is not a native Microsoft Teams system. This is a BYOD, bring my laptop to that meeting room, but still leverage the audio and video of the room system itself. So what happens when I bring my laptop is that now I'm able to run the meeting on my device. So whether that's Teams or it could be Zoom, WebEx, or Hangouts, my laptop is driving the meeting while the room system is acting as a slave for audio and video. This is going to be much more popular in future conference spaces to reduce the communal touch devices and really focus on those personal touching devices. The next system, and really the last system when talking about large meeting spaces, is actually a combination between these two. So what we've done with this brand new system launching next week, and we highly recommend anyone on this call to join us on this product launch on May 6th. You guys should all have received an invite. You can also go onto our website and sign up for it, is the launch of our new MX50. This combines the first Mercury system we talked about with native Teams with the OpenUC BYOD Mercury into a single device. What that means is, and you can actually see this on the screen right here, is that you have a native Microsoft Teams experience from the room system in the room itself on the table. So that when I have a Teams meeting, let's think of an internal meeting because my company has standardized on Teams, I'm able to one-touch join on the device itself, no other laptop or peripherals necessary because my room system is driving that meeting. But my next meeting may be with a client or possibly a prospective employee that I'm interviewing, and it's not on Teams. Well, instead of leaving that room and going to a new room, again, increasing touch, you can stay in that room, bring your laptop, and it allows you to perform BYOD on the exact same native solution that an hour previously you joined a native Teams system in. And so that's what you see on the right-hand side, is actually bringing my laptop, running GoToMeeting, Hangouts, WebEx, Zoom, let my laptop drive the meeting, override the native Microsoft Teams interface, but still leverage the enhanced audio and video from the room system itself. This is a groundbreaking, only available technology from Crestron. We'll be launching it May 6th. We'll be shipping May 22nd. And so that's going to be the first time we're accepting orders today, but this is truly a groundbreaking product to allow you to deploy Teams rooms in more rooms because you don't have to worry about the workflow of the different participants. So really just summing up the M series for your medium and large systems. This is the complete line of products available to you. You can find this on our website. You'll notice that we have everything from a single display to a dual display, all the way up to the open systems and the combo open and native solutions. And then on the bottom half, you'll notice, which is really your BYOD and audio-based systems. These all leverage the same hardware, same form factor, but have different guts to allow for different workflows. The last system we're going to talk about is what happens when I have a custom space. You know, we talked about small meeting rooms, which is great for sound bars, compact all-in-one type systems and devices. We talked about medium and large, where we have different meeting purposes as well as the need for better audio. The last system is what you see up here on the screen. And again, this is an actual picture of an install. This is where we get into the C series of solutions. C standing for custom. Think of this as auditoriums, large boardrooms, things that maybe have more than 2 displays, maybe devices that are required such as table mics or ceiling microphones and speakers. How do I incorporate those? Well, it's all incorporated through the device that you see here on the left-hand side. This is our engine plate. Now, our engine plate is key to the success of all of these systems working, but in a C-series solution, this is where I'm breaking out to amplifiers, to digital media devices from Crestron, to speakers, to microphones, to DSPs, you name it. From an audio and video perspective, I'm able to now truly provide that custom space. The things that maybe you engaged with Kinley in the past from an AV standpoint, but now engaging with Kinley from a UC or IT Pro standpoint with the native Teams control. So you still have that native Teams interface on the right-hand side, sitting on the podium or mounted on the wall, but it's now incorporating the engine plate for breaking out into better audio and video solutions. So those are the 3 main platforms or recommended room types that we have from Crestron Flex in the MTR or Microsoft Teams room space. One thing that I want to definitely talk about, and is very important, is shown here on this slide, which is, well, how do I manage all these devices? You know, Kinley talked about the ability for their solution or their service to show you exactly the lifespan, the life cycle, the status, the network connectivity, the firmware versions of all these devices. Well, one of the ways that Kinley's able to gather all that data is because all of these systems from Crestron Flex come with the ability to integrate to Crestron XIO Cloud. And that is where we're able to integrate into Kinley's service. Kinley is now able to leverage XIO Cloud as the software aggregate of all this information from everything Flex, but also scheduling panels, also Crestron AV, and also all of our environmental controls, from shading to lighting, all the way up into temperature and humidity controls. Everything can be controlled, deployed, and managed on XIO Cloud, leveraged by Kinley as your service provider. Best of all, this service is completely hosted in Azure IoT Hub. So that's where all this data is going and moving into the Kinley as a service provider. So the question comes up now is, well, how does this change, or how does this support me in post-COVID-19 or when I return back to my office? And the answer is actually reducing touch again. The way that XIO Cloud gives you the ability to reduce touch is XIO Cloud has a fantastic feature built into it that Kinley can leverage for your enterprise called remote control. All of the Flex systems that we showed to you today, and the scheduling panels as well, are able to be dynamically remoted into and not only seen, meaning I can not only just see the interface on that device, but I can actually take control over that device. Meaning if I get an IT support call from a room, when my employees return back to my office, I don't have to now deploy an IT professional to that room space, worry about interaction, worry about additional points of touch, because instead I can make that call and that IT professional, that support manager, can completely take care of that customer from a Flex MTR standpoint or even a scheduling standpoint, fully remotely. Not only can they support them, but they can actually even join meetings and schedule meetings for them completely remotely. We're reducing touch, we're reducing sending people into rooms unnecessarily, because that is going to be the new norm that we expect when we return to the office. And all of these things can be integrated and controlled and monitored and managed, of course, by Kinley. So the next thing I want to go through, you guys, since we talked about management and the devices, is sort of what's coming next. I think that's an important piece here. You know, it's been 12 months since we launched Flex as an official MTR, and I want to give you a little bit of a taste of really what's going to be next this year available from Crestron Flex. And most importantly is going to be this device, the next generation MTR. If you notice, the focus that I talked about previously from a product standpoint was center of table conferencing, right? Enhancing the audio as much as possible, because that is what drives a successful meeting. So what we're introducing this fall, we've introduced it, but shipping this fall, is a brand new Mercury Mini device. We've gotten tons of feedback for those on the call that are familiar with Crestron or using Crestron today. your number one feedback has probably been, I want a smaller Mercury device. Well, we have now introduced it for you. This is going to be the Mercury Mini device, giving you the same exact audio quality that you experience with Mercury in a smaller, more compact, more aesthetically pleasing package. We've actually reduced it 40% in size, reduced the bezels, same screen footprint, but lower overall footprint that's taking up on the device table itself. And of course, since it's Crestron, it's able to be deployed, monitored, and managed all through Crestron, XIO Cloud, and then up into Kinley's service. The next thing, it actually isn't anything new, but it's something that I want to remind you all, is room controls and room integration. This is available today, but I think it's commonly forgotten about, that when you have this AV deployment or you have this integration of other systems throughout your space, there's no need to duplicate touch or to duplicate interfaces within your building, because the Crestron MTR from Flex gives you the room control capabilities directly from the room system sitting on your table or mounted on your wall. From the same device that I can one-touch join my MTR, I can also now switch inputs between, say, like we talked about before, Xbox to Teams. I'm able to adjust my lights, adjust my shading, all from the same exact interface. This all comes along with the same mentality here of post and current COVID-19 of reducing touch points. Give me a single point of touch to allow for easier cleaning by your cleaning staff and not duplicating interfaces in the space. Do it all on a single interface. The last piece that I want to talk about from a product standpoint, it goes back to what we were talking about in the BYOD standpoint, or the BYOD mentality of reducing communal touch and incorporating more personal touch devices, is Air Media. Again, for those that are familiar with Crestron, you may be familiar with Air Media, but possibly haven't thought about it in this new world of this incorporates and really does exemplify the need for personal device touch. What Air Media does, for those that aren't familiar with it, is this is Crestron's wireless share and wireless presentation technology. It gives you the ability when you walk into a conference space to leverage the existing wireless network in the building to share content from your device or from your laptop or from your mobile phone. Now, what we haven't thought about previously is how this integrates into room systems and how this is going to support our post-COVID-19 precautionary measures. This allows for enhanced personal touch, reduced communal touch, and now in sharing content into a space, even a Flex MTR, we have integrated and native support between Air Media and Flex to give you the ability from your personal device, instead of touching a communal HDMI cable, to share that content directly into the meeting. So this is fantastic technology today, but even better technology moving forward as you're changing your meeting room structure and your meeting room approach to reduce touch points and help with the cleaning of and sanitization of these different spaces. So lastly, just to close this out, since we talked about all the products, I wanted to be able to give you guys a little bit more resources available to you on how to find more information next. The first great resource, of course, is our brand new website. It's very simply accessed by crestron.com/flex. No need to go to our general page and try to find what is dedicated to UC. If you just go to crestron.com/flex, this will bring you right to our UC dedicated page and have all the information for Teams and, of course, Zoom native solutions directly on that site. The next slide that we have here also showcases some really helpful other links. In addition to Flex, we even have gotten a little even more granular into dedicated Teams, dedicated Zoom, and now actually dedicated Logitech microsites. The dedicated Logitech microsite, if you're curious, it talks about our announced partnership with Logitech as a peripheral able to be integrated into Crestron systems. If you're a Meetup fan, if you're a Rally fan, you now have the ability to take those front of room audio solutions and video solutions and integrate them into Crestron Flex. And so I'm going to leave this slide up here as I transition to Jordan, just to anyone that needs contact directly at Crestron. You can get it right here. You can also scan that QR code on this slide, and it'll be brought in right into your phone. But with that, just to summarize again, this is a great way for you to take native Teams and incorporate it into the room, both from a BYOD standpoint, or of course that native room standpoint, and then next week the combination of the two on that May 6th launch. But transitioning to Jordan, This is going to be a great way, and what Jordan's going to talk about is what happens when you do need to integrate or do need to have native software integration for other devices and other platforms. How does Teams talk to WebEx? How does WebEx talk to Hangouts and onward? And so Jordan and the team at Pexip have an awesome solution to talk about that and how it's then, of course, able to be integrated into solutions like Flex MTR. So Jordan?
Excellent. Thanks so much, Andrew. Really appreciate the time. Great to be with you guys. My name is Jordan Owens. I am the Vice President of Architecture at Pexip. My responsibility spans the technical side of the organization here in the Americas and also work very globally with the rest of our team as well. I'm going to spend a little bit of time today talking to you about how Pexip can assist with integrating your existing video conferencing footprint, your existing non-native Teams footprint, to be more specific, more general, I should say, into Microsoft Teams. And if we really take a step back and we look at the current environment today, and we go to the next slide, the reality is today, the world's very different. I think we all know this, we all realize this, but if you really take a step back and you look at it from a collaboration standpoint, the reality is that we are now a video-first culture. As we've migrated into this work from home, this work remote, this work from wherever you are, we now focus on how do I get connected on video first now instead of what historically has always been an audio first culture. And as we now start to look at how we want to take that back into the office, as we start to migrate our way back in, we go to the next slide. The idea here is that we want to bring in this idea of maintaining that video footprint into the office. Yes, we're still going to be working from home. Yes, we're still going to be socially distancing. Yes, desktop and mobile first will still be a reality, but we are also going to take that into the meeting room. We're also going to be moving this back into the workplace. We're also going to be returning to at least some semblance of normalcy. And how Pexip can really help with that is actually extending that access, extending that capability into standards-based video conferencing systems, actually extending that access into non-native Teams environments. And what the next slide really is all about showing you is how Pexip can bring that footprint into all of the existing footprint of solutions and technologies that you have today. You use Cisco within some video conferencing rooms, you use Polycom, you use Lifesize, you use other non-native Teams environments already today. How can we allow those systems to join into the Microsoft Teams ecosystem so that you can collapse your entire architecture around this new modern meeting architecture? Next slide, please. Don't get me wrong, the Crestron solutions are phenomenal, phenomenal devices, and you're going to grow your video footprint through those environments. And we work very closely with the likes of Crestron and with Kinley to bring about this change in behavior. But the reality is you want to continue to sweat your existing asset pool, and there might even be some conference rooms where those systems make more sense going forward than some other systems, and Pexip can allow that to happen in a very native way. The way that we do that is through this concept called cloud video interoperability. CVI for short, next slide, is the program that has been developed by Microsoft that allows non-native Microsoft Teams systems to dial natively into a Microsoft Teams meeting. So the idea here is that you want to use your existing video conferencing systems, you want your existing Skype for Business clients, you may even want to invite guest access over any something as simple as a web browser to dial directly into a Microsoft Teams meeting, be trusted into that Teams meeting, and join in from a native Microsoft Teams meeting experience. So let's spend a little bit of time talking about the user experience and how Pexip can enable this native meeting environment. If we go into the next slide, please. And then the next slide, please. The native experience starts with the meeting invitation itself. When I log into Outlook or I log into Microsoft Teams, I want to schedule this with a one-button scheduling mechanism. So I go into my calendar and I press the Microsoft Teams meeting button, and I should have that Microsoft Teams meeting experience start from that aspect. I now go in and I invite the people that I want to join, I invite the room systems that I may want to join, and I click to send that meeting experience. But natively within that meeting invitation should contain the dialing instructions that I need to use from my non-native Teams meetings. So in this case, what you see is you see a Microsoft Teams meeting invitation that's directly within that. And if I was going to join in from a Cisco endpoint, if I was going to join in from a Polycom endpoint or a life-size endpoint, or even a Skype for Business client, I can now join in from that with the dialing instructions that are provided directly within the bottom of that meeting invitation. And the next slide will also expand on that capability for those systems that maybe cannot take advantage of that capability, maybe need a little bit of additional dialing instructions, maybe need to dial in from something like an IP address. There is another capability that's contained within that meeting invitation called alternate VTC join instructions that allows those systems that are non-native Microsoft Teams environments and can't use the SIP URI to dial directly into that. That can even include a one-link join or one-touch join experience from a Skype for Business client where they click that button down at the bottom of the screen and it automatically joins into that meeting from that Skype for Business client for those systems that have not yet fully adopted into Microsoft Teams. Now that's great from the join experience, but now we want to talk about it from the admission experience into that meeting. And Pexip can enable a very seamless meeting join experience through one of two mechanisms. The first one is the trusted join experience. So within a Microsoft Teams ecosystem, if I invite people from within my organization, they have the ability to automatically join into that Microsoft Teams meeting because they are a trusted entity. I'm a Pexip user, I use Microsoft Teams routinely, and if I invite other Pexip employees into the meeting, I have the ability to allow them to just join directly into that Microsoft Teams meeting. Well, I should be able to extend that same trusted experience down into my video conferencing footprint as well. So what Pexip brings to the table is the ability to enable a trusted join experience down to video conferencing systems. If I invite those video conferencing systems and I trust those video conferencing systems, I walk into that room, I dial that SIP URI that we looked at previously, or I present a one-touch join experience into that Cisco or that Polycom touch panel, and they will get right into that meeting bypassing any admission lobby because they are a trusted entity within my organization. However, the same is also true for people that are outside. I want to protect people that are outside and untrusted from my organization from dialing directly into that meeting experience as well. And Pexip brings a non-trusted admission capability into that, into the meeting as well. If you go to the next slide, please. So in this capability, if I invite people from outside my meeting experience or outside my environment, I should say, and they dial directly into my meeting, they will now be parked into a lobby that requires me as a meeting host to admit them into the meeting. This allows me to protect the security posture for my organization while still enabling people outside my company to dial in using the video conferencing system, the Skype for Business client of their choice as well. So this gives me the ability as an organization to protect the join experience. Those that are within join in via the trusted environment. Those that are outside my environment join in, but they get parked into the lobby. Now, how does Pexip protect those or identify those that are enabled within my organization? And that's done through a number of different mechanisms. Next slide, please. The first mechanism is enabled within those that are registered into the Pexip service or into the Pexip Infinity platform that they've deployed within their environment as well. Pexip, because those devices are registered into my environment, gives me the ability to say this Cisco endpoint, that Polycom endpoint, this device is trusted within my organization because it's registered within my domain. Those devices that are registered with a Pexip.com capability, those devices that are registered into my environment are trusted by my environment and therefore get right in. Pexip also supports a trusted device concept, which allows devices from named call control remote systems to get right in bypassing that lobby as well. The idea here is that administrators within the organization have a very granular capability to say, this device is trusted, that call control system is trusted, this room system is trusted, and yet everybody else is untrusted and therefore will get parked into the lobby. So now we've talked about the scheduling experience. We talked about the join experience. Let's talk about the user experience while I'm inside the meeting as well. And this is really important because the native user experience should be protected on both sides of the meeting. When we start in from the Teams environment and I allow a video conferencing system to join into that meeting, the Teams experience should be maintained. It should be native to the user experience. I should see the video conferencing system show up inside the lobby. I should be able to protect those that can and cannot present. I should be able to make sure that I am seeing the exact native Teams user experience, even when I have a diversity of endpoints that have joined in. Well, that same native experience should be protected on the video conferencing side. Users that join in from a video conferencing system should see the native video conferencing experience. And Pexip works extremely hard to make sure that the native experience on both sides of this conversation is protected. When I join in from the Teams environment, I get the native Teams experience. I get the same Teams layout, whether that's the 4 split or the new 9 split that Microsoft has just rolled out. I get the full roster list of everybody that's in, and I can control the meeting within that roster list as well. I can present using the native Teams client. I can even see presentations when they come from other Teams users or other video conferencing users. From the video conferencing side of things, I get the exact same native user experience. When I receive video as it comes in from the Microsoft Teams meeting, I get the native video conferencing layout. When I receive content, I get content showing up on my 2 screens or showing up as 2 independent streams on a single screen, the way that I would within a native video conferencing meeting. If I present into that meeting, I also get the native presentation capability going into the touch panel, 1 button join, 1 button present, and I get the ability to take that as well. Now, one of the unique ways that Pexip can present this capability, next slide please, is via our ability to allow customers to choose how they want to consume this native video conferencing experience. They can consume it as a service within the Pexip cloud, where we run everything, we maintain it, we own it, and we have a global footprint of 13 cities around the world that ingests all of those video streams into the city that's most local to the end user and runs everything over a QoS backbone. This gives customers the real easy, real flexible way to very quickly adopt Microsoft Teams interoperability through nothing more than just a one-touch click experience within our service that automatically turns this capability on for them and enables it on a global footprint. For those customers who require a little bit more control, a little bit more management over their data, they want to take advantage of a little bit more customization, or they just want to own the entire experience themselves and run it within their own Azure tenant, we also have an enterprise software application that allows customers to be able to run this entirely on their behalf. The point here is that no matter how you want to consume it, in a service where we run it within our cloud, or as an enterprise application where you run it within your cloud, you have the exact same user experience, the exact same scheduling experience, the exact same call admission control experience, the same join experience, the same capability across the board is afforded to you. So you get the flexibility to choose what makes the most sense for your organization. And if you want to pivot to the other later as your needs change, you have the flexibility and the capability to be able to do that. So as you start to think about how you want to move back into the office coming out of this COVID-19 crisis, you have a tremendous amount of flexibility to choose what's right for your organization so that you can use what makes the most sense for you. And at the end of the day, next slide, please, you can trust and rely on the fact that Pexip is a recognized global leader that has serviced and supported the global Fortune 500 across the board and is recognized as one of the easiest and most friendly companies to work with. We are an organization that has been around for 8.5 years and has founded our entire organization on the abstract of interoperability and the ability to make sure that you as a user don't know nor understand nor care what complexity is happening behind the scenes. You have a very seamless user experience, you have a very seamless join experience, and you have the ability to consume and maintain the technology that you want within your organization without having to worry about what other devices need to be joined into that. We can enable this technology across the globe. We can enable it as a service. We can enable it in a dedicated software model, or we can enable it a hybrid between the two, and Pexip will always be here to support you. Now, if you want more information or how to be able to take advantage of this technology, you can take a look at our Teams microsite at pexip.com/teams. Final slide, please. Or you can also feel free to reach out to me directly. My email is very simple, jordan@pexip.com, and I'd be more than happy to support you in any way that I can. At the end of the day, Pexip is here for you, and we're here to make this transition back into the office as seamless for you and your organization as possible. So please reach out. We're happy to get into a conversation with you on how we can help. Now I'll turn it back over to you, Ali, so that we can close this out.
Jordan, Andrew, stellar jobs. Thank you very much. Really informative, as always. Super slick, very well constructed and put together. So going to go through, we've been receiving quite a few questions actually during the course of people's presentations. So we're going to go through them now. Tiago, over to you. Do you want to tell us what we've got?
Hello, everyone. If you'd like to submit a question, you may do so at the bottom of the stream. If you joined via the bridge, there's also a WebRTC box that you could submit the question through that I'll be monitoring. We got the first question here. This one's for Andrew. The question is, what are some of the architectural changes to the office space you expect post-COVID that will affect Crestron Flex deployment and usage?
That's a good question. I mentioned a little bit of it in the presentation, but it's definitely worth reiterating. What we're seeing is a departure, actually, or a full 180 from what we saw over the past 5 years of previously people focusing on, and architects and developers focusing on smaller spaces, right? More people and less real estate. And we're going to see a full 180 of that to actually larger spaces. We were talking to a couple of Fortune 100 companies just yesterday, and they were talking about how everything from a 10-person conference room is now a 5-person conference room. A 6-person conference room is now a 3-person conference room. So now to incorporate those 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 to 12 people meeting in a single space, the spaces need to get bigger. So that's one big change. We're going to see, I think, an introduction of actually bigger spaces. So systems are going to have to incorporate that. But the second big thing that I didn't mention that we saw or are going to see is a better adoption of IoT. Now, what the hell do I mean by that? Crestron's been in the IoT space forever. We've been connecting things through the internet for a very long time, but I think we're actually going to finally see the adoption of this enterprise-wide. Great example of this is motion sensors and people detection. We talked about how we expect spaces to go in back post-COVID-19 as, say, 50% occupancy. Well, how do you maintain and how are you positive that it's actually 50% occupancy without data and that information being sent to a specific monitoring or management platform? So I believe we are going to see motion sensors as well as other devices being able to identify people and human interaction, actually sending data more frequently back up to managed or high-end services, because we're going to need to confirm that these spaces are either occupied or vacant to avoid unnecessary touch or interaction, or also the entire building itself, that it is on 50% occupancy versus 75% occupancy.
Okay. The next question is also for Andrew. They have asked, what is the Crestron Flex availability due to recent global shipping challenges experienced with other companies?
Yeah, we get this question a lot too, is, great, everything sounds good. Can we get our hands on it? Because I think a lot of folks on the call are looking to adopt these types of initiatives today, because you need to be ready for these travel restrictions that certainly will be staying in place. The good news is Crestron's Flex and MTR systems are fully available today. We talked a little bit about roadmap, but our existing devices that are shipping, we are actually seeing no shipping issues within the continental U.S. A main reason for that is one of the unique benefits that Crestron provides is we actually do all of our manufacturing out of North America. So all these Flex devices that we talked about today, they are manufactured out of North America, and of course they ship and are stocked out of North America. So we are available today for shipping.
Thank you. Next question is for Jordan. Given most are working from home these days, how do you expect the need for room-based video conferencing systems to change in the wake of COVID-19?
That's a great question, and we've got a lot of customers that are coming to us right now, actually trying to spin up interoperability going in preparation for going back to the office. In a good news story, we as a country and we as a globe are actually starting to think about how we're going to go back into the office. And to Andrew's point, a lot of this is, how are we going to go back to the office in a safe way, maintain social distancing, maintain 50% occupancy, continue to not only support but encourage the idea of working from home. But the reality is that as we go back into the office, we also need to recognize that we're going to have the new normal. And that new normal is as much about how the meeting itself is going to occur as it is anything. A number of customers are looking to stand up CVI today so that when they go back into the office, they can make sure they can adopt video conferencing immediately within their Microsoft Teams environment. And the driver behind that is really all about to make sure that those that continue to work remotely can maintain connected into conference rooms and into the office environment, as some that feel more comfortable or feel more enabled or more empowered go back to work. So the idea here is that how do organizations maintain flexibility within their video conferencing footprint as they go back into the office so that they don't have to think or they don't have to compromise in terms of the meetings that they want to support in the future.
Thank you. We have another question. This one's not aimed at anybody. They have asked, when will the MTR support joining Zoom and WebEx meetings via WebRTC One Touch?
I believe
Jordan,
the last info we got was June, was on my end.
Sorry, Andrew, what was that?
The last information that we received from Microsoft was that that would be released at the end of this fiscal year or beginning of next fiscal year, which is June, July timeframe. Our systems will be fully compatible once that Teams integration is available.
Thank you. Jordan, any comment?
No, I think that's pretty much dead on.
Okay, and we have one more question that I can see. This is for the open floor as well. I heard Teams, I heard Zoom. Any news from Skype? Are they really going away?
Yeah, so Skype goes end of life officially in June, July 2021. So yeah, this is a big section that people have really got to focus on, because there's a lot of users out there with Skype on-prem, possibly dragging their heels a little bit and not quite getting behind the ball as much as they should. But there's sufficient solutions in place, but really people should be planning their transition now to Microsoft Teams on the assumption that's where they want to go to with their platform. But yeah, Skype is certainly going away.
One thing I'd like to add to that too is that a lot of organizations are thinking about how they migrate from a Skype environment into a Microsoft Teams environment. And one of the beautiful things about the Pexip CVI solution is that it allows Skype for Business clients to join into a Teams meeting. So as organizations are accelerating their adoption, they don't have to worry about how do we enable all of our users to be able to join directly into Microsoft Teams, nor do they have to worry about how do our business partners, our customers, our suppliers join into that as well if they should remain a Skype shop in the future as well. So a lot of flexibility that you as an organization have as you think about that migration into Microsoft Teams.
Great.
Thank you. We also had one comment where some users were struggling a bit with bandwidth. I'd like everyone to know that the recording for this event will be made available. Please just submit your email to Ollie. We'll make sure it gets out.
Yeah, and on that note, obviously everyone's abided by an online sign-up, which is great. So we'll look after that for you guys. So we'll distribute the recording to the link to the appropriate mailing list. So we'll get that updated. Andrew, Jordan, any closing comments, or are we about done?
I think we're set. I think it's awesome. The only last thing I will add is, Crestron Flex is certainly a fantastic native MTR solution for your conference spaces. But I think as we all look into this newer space and newer architectural requirements, newer social distancing requirements, is to think about the other things that surround Crestron Flex, to think about what Crestron Flex gives you the ability to integrate into and the capability to gather data from, because of these new requirements that are going to need to be implemented, such as the implementation of motion sensors or personal touch sharing or scheduling solutions to reduce potentially unwanted or unnecessary content. But with that, I'll say thank you guys for having me, and I'll hand it over to Jordan.
And I think that's a great comment there, Andrew, to close it off. I mean, at the end of the day, the reality is that there is no reality anymore. We're all trying to figure out what this new normal means, what the new, as we do start to return to some semblance of normalcy, what that means and how we're going to go about doing that. I think the key thing here is to maintain flexibility in everything that you do. Make sure that as you start to think about moving back into an office, as you start to think about returning to some semblance of normalcy, You want to maintain flexibility. You want to maintain adaptability so that you can shift the complexity away from your end users and allow them to relieve some of the stress that they've all been feeling within their environment today. The stress should exist inside the infrastructure, inside the organization, if you will, not at the end user level. Crestron does a phenomenal job with that within their MTRs. Pexip can help you enable that within your non-MTR systems as well. And then Kinley can take that off your back when you look at it from a service and supportability standpoint.
No, that's great, Jordan. And, I appreciate those comments, guys. I appreciate your time today. This has been relatively rapid fire. We pulled this together at quite short notice. But in conclusion, from our end, from where I play and where I stand, I look at Kinley, Pexip, Crestron as like a holy trinity to get you guys on your pathway into the Microsoft Teams environment. We can overcome any obstacle. 3 very transparent, open companies as well with open door policies. You can quiz us about what your possible strategy needs are, et cetera, et cetera. So if anyone wants to reach out on anything discussed in the seminar today, please reach out via email, and we will see how we can help you guys out. But on that note, thank you very much. Keep an eye for the recording link. We'll aim to get that out before close of business this week. And thanks for your time, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Your call will be disconnected.